Ethan Cole, a disciplined, work-obsessed millionaire CEO, had built an empire out of silence. The only thing louder than his success was the emptiness left behind when she walked away. Years had passed since Mia disappeared without a trace, leaving nothing but unanswered questions and a hollow ache he buried under ambition. But one evening, his phone rang, a hospital number. The voice on the other end said softly, "We found your emergency contact on her file." His world stopped. The meeting he was leading blurred into static. And for the first time in years, Ethan dropped everything. The deal, the pride, the image, and ran toward the one thing he couldn't buy back. The woman who once taught him how to love. He had no idea that what waited for him in that hospital room would change his life forever. The boardroom was silent except for the faint ticking of the antique clock. The one Ethan Cole had bought from an Italian auction just to remind himself that time was money. Every second, he believed, could either make or break a $1 million deal. He stood tall, in his tailored charcoal suit, eyes scanning the projection screen as numbers and percentages danced in front of him. Around him sat a dozen executives, all waiting for his verdict. Ethan was the kind of man whose silence carried more weight than most people's words. But then, his phone buzzed. He hated interruptions. Everyone in the room froze when his phone vibrated again, persistent this time. He frowned and glanced down. Unknown number. He hesitated, but something in him stirred a strange, uneasy pull. Against his usual rules, he picked up. "Mr. Cole," a woman's voice said gently, "this is St. Helena Hospital. We found your number listed as an emergency contact for a patient named Mia Hart." Ethan's heart stuttered. For a second, he forgot to breathe. The world around him, the deals, the graphs, the $1 million negotiations all blurred into silence. I think you have the wrong number," he said, though his voice trembled. "I haven't seen her in years. She was brought in unconscious. No other contact listed. We need consent for treatment." The phone slipped slightly in his hand. His pulse roared in his ears. Mia. His Mia. It had been 5 years since she'd vanished. One morning she'd left the apartment, left the city, and left his world without a word. No goodbye, no note, just gone, like she had erased herself from his life. "Is she?" He paused, throat tightening. "Is she alive? She's stable, but critical. Please come quickly." The line went dead. He didn't say a word to anyone. He simply picked up his car keys, left the stunned boardroom behind, and walked out, leaving millions of dollars and deadlines in the dust. The drive to St. Helena felt longer than his entire career. The rain hit the windshield in relentless streaks, each drop echoing the guilt that had never left him. He had been the one who pushed her away. When work became everything, Mia had begged him to slow down. "Ethan," she had said once, "you'll win the world and lose yourself." He didn't listen. And now, she was in a hospital bed. When he arrived, the sterile scent of antiseptic hit him, cold, sharp, unforgiving. He walked through the corridors like a ghost, every step haunted by memories. "Room 304, the nurse said, glancing at her chart. He pushed the door open, and there she was, pale, fragile, motionless, lying under the soft glow of monitors. Her hair, once full of sunlight and laughter, now tangled against the pillow. Her chest rose and fell weakly under the thin blanket. He froze by the doorway, unable to move. Mia Hart, the only woman who had ever made him feel human. He moved closer, his hand trembling as he brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Mia," he whispered. His voice cracked, the voice of a man who had conquered everything except his own heart. He sat by her bedside for hours, just watching. Nurses came and went, machines beeped steadily, and outside, thunder rolled across the night. It was strange how someone so powerful could feel so helpless. And then, just as he leaned forward, her lips moved slightly, her eyes fluttered open. She breathed weakly. He froze. "Yes," he said, his voice breaking. "It's me, I'm here." She looked confused, then scared. Her gaze darted toward the door. "You shouldn't have come." "What are you talking about?" he said softly. "You're in the hospital. I had too." But then she whispered something that shattered his world. "Ethan, please, don't let him see me." He frowned. But she closed her eyes again, tears slipping down her cheeks, and the monitor beeped faster. He grabbed her hand. "Mia, what's going on?" The nurse rushed in, adjusting her for. "Sir, she needs rest." Ethan stepped back, his mind spinning. Don't let him see me. Who was she talking about? Outside the room, he stood against the cold wall, staring at her chart. He noticed something odd, a name listed under next of kin minor. Noah Hart, age 4. His breath caught. A child. Her child. And then, in a flash, everything made sense. her disappearance, her silence, her fear. He whispered the words that changed everything. Is he mine? Ethan didn't move for a long time. The corridor felt smaller, heavier, like the air itself was closing in around him. His mind replayed that single word from Mia's chart, Noah. He whispered it to himself. Noah Hart. Hart, her last name, not his. He rubbed his face, trying to steady his breath. But his heart raced with a storm he couldn't control. A child, her child, 4 years old. That meant, his chest tightened. It was possible. It was more than possible. He pressed the nurse's button. Excuse me, he said, forcing calm into his voice. The child listed under Mia Hart. Noah, is he? Where is he? The nurse hesitated, glancing toward the closed door. He's in the pediatric ward. He was brought in earlier with her. What happened to them? A car accident, she said quietly. They were hit by a drunk driver. She shielded him with her body. That's probably what saved him. Ethan turned away, clenching his jaw. For a man who'd always been in control, he suddenly had no idea what to do with his hands, his voice, or his heart. Without thinking, he started walking fast, following the signs toward the pediatric unit. The hallway seemed endless, but when he reached the glass window marked Children's Recovery, he stopped. There he was. A small boy sitting on a hospital bed, clutching a stuffed bear with one arm bandaged. His hair was dark, slightly messy, just like Ethan's when he was young, but it was the eyes that hit him the hardest. They were the same piercing gray as his own. For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. He pressed a hand against the glass, trembling. The boy turned his head just slightly, and their eyes met. It was like time folded in on itself. Sir, a nurse said softly behind him. Are you family? He hesitated, his throat tight. I don't know, he admitted, but I need to see him. Inside the room, Noah looked up curiously. Hi, he said, his voice soft but steady. Are you a doctor? Ethan forced a smile, his heart breaking at the innocence in that little voice. No, buddy. I'm a friend of your mom. The boy nodded solemnly, like that was enough. Mommy said her friend would come one day. Ethan froze. She said that. Noah nodded again. She said he's tall, wears suits, and looks like me. Ethan almost laughed, but his voice cracked instead. She told you that. The boy smiled faintly. But she said you're busy saving the world. That was when Ethan's composure broke completely. He knelt beside the bed, his eyes stinging. No, Noah, I'm not saving the world. I think I was just lost in it. Noah tilted his head. Mom says people who get lost can always be found. Tears blurred Ethan's vision. He reached out slowly, brushing the boy's hair back. He wanted to hug him, to say something, anything, but the moment was too fragile, too sacred. Just then, a nurse peeked in. Mr. Cole, Ms. Hart is awake again. She's asking for you. Mia was sitting up when he returned, pale but conscious. Her eyes widened when she saw him. You found him. He nodded, stepping closer. You should have told me. She looked down, fingers tightening around the blanket. And what would you have done, Ethan? You were married to your work. You didn't need a family then. That's not fair, he said quietly. She looked up, anger flashing in her tired eyes. Fair? You told me once that love was a distraction, that you didn't have time for feelings? I wasn't going to raise our child, waiting for you to schedule love between meetings. Her words hit him like a blade. He sat beside her, silent for a long moment. I was wrong, he finally said. Every day I thought I was building a legacy, but I was just building walls. Tears filled her eyes. Don't say that now, Ethan. Not out of guilt. It's not guilt, he whispered. It's truth. I didn't know about Noah, but I should have. I should have fought for us. She looked away, her voice trembling. He doesn't even know who you are. To him, you're just a kind stranger. Ethan swallowed hard. Then let me earn the right to be more. Silence filled the room. Outside, rain tapped gently on the window like the world itself was listening. Mia finally whispered. He's a good kid, smart, loves building things, just like you. A faint, broken smile touched Ethan's lips. Maybe we could build something together this time. She stared at him, unsure whether to believe him or the memory of who he used to be. Then the door opened. Noah peeked in shyly, clutching his bear. Mama, he said softly. That man was crying when he saw me. Ethan turned away, his face wet. Mia's gaze softened, her anger fading under the weight of truth. For the first time in years, she saw not the ruthless CEO she'd left, but the man she once fell in love with. Ethan barely slept that night. He sat in the hospital's quiet waiting area, watching the lights flicker above him. every thought circling back to the little boy asleep down the hall, and the woman he'd once promised everything to. At 3 a.m., he finally stood and walked back to Mia's room. She was half awake, her breathing shallow but steady. "Mia," he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open. "You're still here?" He nodded. "I'm not leaving again." She gave a faint, tired smile. "You said that once before." "I mean it this time," he said softly, "if you'll let me prove it." The next morning sunlight poured through the blinds as nurses moved in and out, checking vitals. Ethan had gone out briefly and returned with coffee, flowers, and a small wooden toy truck. Noah spotted it first. "Is that for me?" Ethan smiled. "Yeah, built it myself this morning." The boy's eyes widened. "Really? Well," Ethan chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck, "with a hotel screwdriver and too much coffee. But it rolls." Mia's lips twitched. "You still overdo everything." He looked at her. "Not everything. Some things. I never did enough." For a moment, their eyes met, full of the words neither dared to speak. Later that day, Ethan stepped outside to take a call. His assistant's voice buzzed through the line. "Sir, the investors are waiting for your signature on the Singapore deal. Tell them they'll have to wait." "Wait," she echoed, shocked. "Ethan, this contract, nothing's more important right now," he said firmly, cutting the call short. When he turned back toward the glass doors, he saw Mia watching from her bed, eyes wide with disbelief. He'd once missed their anniversary for a board meeting. Now he was ignoring a multi-million-dollar deal for her. That evening Mia was discharged, though she still needed rest. Ethan insisted on driving them home. Home, the word felt strange on his tongue, yet familiar. He held the door as she walked into her small apartment. Toys scattered across the living room floor, a blanket on the couch, a photo of Mia and Noah smiling at the beach. He froze. The boy's smile was his. The background, that beach, was the same one where he and Mia had once taken a weekend trip. "Years ago, you kept the same place?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "It's small, but it's ours." "It's beautiful," he murmured, meaning it. Noah tugged on his sleeve. "Wanna see my room?" Ethan grinned. "I'd love to." Inside, drawings covered the wall, rockets, cars, and one photo that made Ethan's throat tighten. It was a child's crayon sketch, a man, a woman, and a little boy holding hands. 3 stick figures labeled Mom, Me, and My Hero. "Who's that?" Ethan asked, though he already knew. Noah shrugged shyly. "I don't know yet. Mommy says heroes find you when you need them." Ethan blinked rapidly, trying to keep his voice steady. "Sounds like your mom's pretty smart." "She is," Noah said proudly. "But she cries sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep." Ethan swallowed hard. "Then we'll make sure she smiles more." "Okay." Noah beamed. "Okay." That night when Noah fell asleep, Ethan and Mia sat quietly on the balcony. The city lights shimmered, and for once, Ethan didn't feel the need to chase them. He looked at her profile, the same softness he remembered, touched now by years of strength. "I thought I had everything," he said finally. "Power, control, success. But all I did was build a life where I couldn't feel anything." Mia didn't reply. He turned to her. "When you left, I thought you took my peace. But the truth is, I never gave you a reason to stay." She looked down, voice trembling. "Do you know what it's like to raise a child alone? To watch him grow and see your eyes in his face every day?" Ethan reached out, gently brushing away a tear from her cheek. "I can't change what I did, Mia, but I can be here now. For both of you." She met his gaze, pain and hope battling behind her eyes. "It's not that simple." "I know," he whispered, "but I don't want simple. I want real." The words hung between them, raw, fragile, and true. A week later Noah was discharged fully, and Ethan started visiting daily. He brought breakfast, helped with homework, fixed a broken faucet, even learned how to make pancakes shaped like cars. Every morning, the boys' laughter filled the small apartment, a sound Ethan hadn't realized he'd been starving for. One evening, as he tucked Noah into bed, the boy asked sleepily, "Will you be here tomorrow too?" Ethan smiled. "Every day you'll let me." Noah yawned. "Then, you're my dad now." The words hit him like sunlight after a storm. He looked over at Mia, standing in the doorway, tears glistening in her eyes. She didn't correct the boy. She didn't need to. Later Mia walked him to the door. "He's getting attached," she said softly. "So am I," Ethan admitted. She sighed. "Ethan, I'm not asking for anything, but he needs stability." "I'll give it," he said instantly. "Not money, not things. Time, presence." She looked up at him, unsure whether to believe. "People don't change overnight." He smiled faintly. Then I'll spend every night proving I have for the first time. She didn't argue. He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Thank you for raising him, for being strong when I wasn't, she whispered. You still remember how to be gentle. He smiled. I never forgot. I just forgot why. She didn't stop him when he leaned in, resting his forehead against hers. Outside, the city pulsed with life, but for them, the world had gone still. A month had passed since that night. Ethan's world had slowed down, and for the first time, it felt right. He had traded business meetings for bedtime stories, mergers for morning pancakes. His assistants called every day, begging him to return to the company. But each time, he said the same words. Not yet. My priorities changed. At first, people thought he'd gone mad. A millionaire CEO stepping away from everything for a woman and a child he'd once abandoned. But to Ethan, it wasn't madness. It was peace. The day of the event, his company's 10th anniversary gala, was happening downtown. His name was still printed on the banners, his chair still empty at the front. Mia didn't know he planned to go. He hadn't told her, not until that morning. Are you sure? She asked, watching him straighten his tie. You don't owe them anything. I do, he said quietly. I owe you the truth. And I owe the world a better man than I was. She studied him, calm, steady, sure. The man she'd fallen in love with years ago had been powerful but distant. This one was different, real. Then go, she said softly. Show them who you've become. That night the ballroom shimmered with gold lights and camera flashes. Every major investor, reporter, and socialite was there. Ethan's sudden return drew every eye. But he didn't start with business. He took the mic and said, I built this company believing success meant control. But when I lost the woman who loved me, and the child I didn't know I had, I learned that real strength isn't in winning. It's in admitting when you've failed. A hush fell over the crowd. I'm not here to celebrate money, he continued. I'm here to celebrate what I almost destroyed: family. For a long second, nobody spoke. Then, quiet applause started growing until it filled the room. Mia, standing in the back, felt her throat tighten. He hadn't mentioned her name, but every word was hers. After the gala, Ethan returned home. Noah was waiting by the window, fighting sleep. Mom said you'd be on TV, he said excitedly. I tried to stay awake. Ethan chuckled, kneeling down. Did I look okay? The boy nodded proudly. You looked like my hero. Mia leaned against the doorway, smiling softly. He's right, you know. Ethan looked up at her, the same woman he'd once let walk away. He stood, walked over, and took her hands in his. I told the world the truth, he said. Now I need to tell you something else. Something I never had the courage to say before. She waited, silent. I still love you, Mia, he whispered. Not because of guilt or the past, but because every day since that call, I've finally felt alive. And that's because of you and him. Her lips trembled. Ethan, you can't just walk back into my life and say everything's fixed. I know, he said. That's why I'm not asking for forgiveness tonight. I'm asking for a chance to earn it. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She nodded slowly, one step at a time. He smiled. One step, one morning, one bedtime story at a time. A year later, laughter echoed through their new home, a small beach house far from the noise of the city. Noah, now 7, ran across the sand, chasing the waves. Mia sat on the porch, holding a mug of coffee as Ethan came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. You're going to spoil him, she teased, watching their son jump in the surf. He deserves it, Ethan said softly. He deserves both of us. She leaned back against him, eyes closing. You've changed, Ethan. I had to, he murmured, because losing you was the only thing that ever really scared me. She turned to face him, eyes soft, heart finally free of old wounds. You didn't lose me, she said quietly. You just took a while to find your way back. He smiled, pulling her close, as the wind carried the sound of their son's laughter across the shore. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel like a man haunted by what he'd lost. He felt like a father, a partner, a man who had finally learned that love, not wealth, was the only thing worth building.